Hey everyone, it's the Canes Corner podcast. I am Adam Gold, and I do remember how to do this, even though I didn't do it Saturday. I don't know, in my haste to get to you guys quickly, I screwed up the beginning. So whatever. It's informal. We're not here trying to win awards. We're brought to you by the Aluminum Company of North Carolina. If it is for the exterior of your home, you can find it at the Aluminum Company of North Carolina on Hamlin Road in Durham. No place like it. Sammy Hannon and his crew do a great job. You should check them out for all of your exterior home improvement needs. All right, let's get to it. A 6-3 setback to the Vegas Golden Knights. First night at home after a long road trip is always difficult. But there's a lot of things being made more difficult by a combination of things for the Carolina Hurricanes. Not an excuse because, honestly, played well enough to win in Dallas, had a 2-0 lead, didn't do it. Blew a 3-goal lead in the first period in Colorado. But honestly, probably got more out of that game than you deserved. And I keep saying this. I think their best game out of this stretch of 4 was the first time they lost in Vegas, which was a game that I thought Carolina could have, if Seth Jarvis, we keep reiterating the same stuff, but if Seth Jarvis finishes that chance early in the third period to tie the game, I think Carolina gets momentum and maybe they win that game as opposed to a 4-1 loss, which looked way more lopsided than it was. I thought that was a pretty even game, and I thought Carolina was better late. I thought the first period was a struggle, but after that, I thought Carolina was really good in Vegas. Tonight, and to a large extent, what we have seen over the last 4 games, and I always say this about other sports, and I believe it to be true about the National Hockey League as well, who you play matters. It's not everything, but when you're playing Vegas, who, for my money, is the best team Carolina has played, and I don't think that's a stretch. I think they're better than Colorado. I think they're better than Dallas. The one element that they don't have right now, they don't have great goaltending, but Carolina didn't really force Akira Schmid to play well, and I don't think he did. I think he could have stopped the Svechnikov goal. He could have stopped the Martinook goal, but he didn't. And the Hurricanes put 3 on the board, actually had the lead in the third period. But I think the biggest issue right now for Carolina is a personnel issue. And I'm not trying to make an excuse for him. You can lose and you can win if you play well. And there was a win out here for Carolina tonight, but when it came down to it, they just didn't play well enough as a group. And some veterans were part of it. And we're going to get to it. I thought Nick Ehlers and Taylor Hall were terrible tonight. Unsure with the puck and created problems for teammates. I thought this was the worst game I'd seen Taylor Hall play. Now it could be, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong thing, but I thought Taylor Hall, I thought he was 100% culpable on the goal that made it, the Eichel goal that made it 4-3. Man, with 5 minutes to go, gosh, with all the issues you got, you'd love to see that game get into overtime and just drag a point out of a game where you were second best. Hurricanes have now been outshot 3 straight times. Now, I didn't have time before this started, and as you saw, because we didn't hear any highlights at the beginning, at least if you're watching on YouTube, you didn't. You got all the highlights. All of the highlights you got if you were listening to the podcast normally, because I put them in later. So for me, if you could have dragged this into overtime, it would have been awesome, but you didn't do it. And you had an opportunity. 5 minutes to go. And Taylor Hall, when he should just push the puck behind the net, get off the ice. He tries to leave the puck for Joel Nystrom. And I don't think Nystrom played really well either. Of course, Nystrom is missing some teeth today after taking a puck to the mouth from Braden McNabb. But the Hurricanes, I mean, you were your own worst enemy. But anyway, here are the personnel issues that I think matter. You've got Robinson and Carrier out. Those are not only two forwards who were playing well. Carrier, Martinook, and Stahl had been dynamite over the first few games of the season. Eric Robinson had been one of their best forwards. Yeah, not playing a ton, playing fourth-line minutes, but 3 goals, all sorts of speed, heaviness, and that's what Carrier brings as well. And while Mark Jankowski is big, there's a reason why he's a healthy extra most nights. He's your 13th forward, and you're missing 2 of your better players, your bigger players, your, at least in the case of Robinson, your faster players, and heavy. And now you got Bradley Nadeau, who is largely invisible tonight, but he didn't play a lot. I ain't going to blame him. It's not Bradley Nadeau's fault that he was invisible. There just wasn't a lot. That line wasn't any good. The Kotkaniemi line, they lost. KK was, I think, 1-8 in the faceoff circle or something like that. But again, I ain't blaming them. The Hurricanes without Slavin, without Miller, Gostisbehere goes down early in the second period. No Ghost. And now you've got Walker. You've got Chatfield, who still, I promise you, is not 100%. And Nikishin, who played his best game ever for the Hurricanes tonight. And even that, he made some mistakes. But, I ain't going to blame him for those. He played 27 and a half minutes. We'll talk about him later. But Carolina's got Dom Fensori and Joel Nystrom as your third defensive pair. And there was one time they had Nystrom and Fensori on the ice with the Stankoven, Blake, Hall line. And Taylor Hall towers at 6'1", towers over the group. And he was arguably the worst player tonight. I mean, it's a recipe for disaster against a team like Vegas. And normally Carolina could get away with a small lineup if you're faster than the other team. Here's the problem when you're playing Vegas. They're just as fast as you are. Vegas is a high-speed team. They just happen to do it with size. This is always going to be a tough matchup. Always. I'd say, man, I don't want to play them again, except it would mean that it was in the Stanley Cup Finals. And I know Tripp and Mike kind of glanced about this during the broadcast, but Vegas is a tough matchup. Carolina's going to have to look a little bit different when if that were to happen again. So you got all the personnel issues that you want, and then there were issues during the game where at one point Ghost is out, Nystrom is getting repairs, and Sean Walker goes to the penalty box for a hooking penalty, which, okay. It wasn't an awesomely officiated game tonight. I don't think Carolina got as screwed as some people do. And I'll address something that the head coach said in the postgame about power play discrepancy. But when Walker goes to the penalty box, I thought that was a penalty. Carolina's got Fensori, Chatfield, and Nikishin, the only 3 available defensemen. Yeah, minute 25 to kill at the end of the second period in a 2-2 game. And it was such an inspiring period because I thought Carolina got worked in the period. Desperation goaltending from Freddie Anderson, who played one of his more entertaining periods, we'll just say that. Alexander Nikishin was tremendous. They just did a lot of the things that you have to do when you're outmanned. You just got to outwork and be desperate. Jordan Martinook didn't have a skate blade for about 45 seconds as they were trying to not kill a penalty, but They were trying to hold off the top line because the Stahl line had the Eichel line a lot. And Martinook blocks a shot, and his skate blade comes, is knocked off on the shot block, which he got with his skate. He couldn't get off the ice. He was out there on 1 foot, couldn't do anything. At one point, they tried to push him towards the net, but Vegas regained possession of the puck. Not push him toward the net, push him towards the bench, but Vegas regains possession of the puck. They couldn't get back. Like, he had to drag himself off the ice. Finally, Seth Jarvis got the puck, and he put a shot on goal that Schmid swallowed and held on for a faceoff. They dodged bullets there. Freddie Anderson make some of his best saves in the second period, including a paddle save on Mitch Marner that kept the game 2-2. I mean, it's just an incredibly inspiring period. It was one of the best periods Jordan Martinook has ever played as a Hurricane. And then you get the goal early in the third from Stankoven, a great play by Jackson Blake along the wall. I think it was right around the defensive blue line. Takes a hit, gets the puck, slides it across the ice. Looked like Jalen Chatfield got a touch on it. He did get a touch on it. It goes over to Stankoven, who comes in, drags it a little bit towards the middle, and then beats Schmidt. It was 3-2. And then it was just sort of like a sea of breakdowns. And Carolina was pretty fortunate that it was still 3-3 with 5 minutes to go. But the mistakes that Carolina made, the players who were on the ice when Carolina made the mistakes, was never going to turn out well. Jack Eichel is a star, and he played like it again. Now 3 goals in the 2 games against Carolina this year. Pavel Dorofeyev had 2 goals tonight. He's got 3 goals in the 2 games against the Hurricanes this year. And again, I hope we see him again. But man, as currently constituted, Vegas is an awful matchup for Carolina. Awful matchup. So, part 1 of this story tonight was the personnel. Not an excuse, but certainly an explanation, a reason why it looked the way it did. Oh, I was talking about this. 3rd game in a row where Carolina's outshot. Now, and then the game before, it was, I think Carolina outshot the, I guess it was Vegas. Was it the game in Vegas where they outshot Vegas by 1? Let me just go get those numbers. Yes, Vegas, they outshoot the Golden Knights 27-26. They get outshot 48-31 in Colorado and 34-28 in Dallas. They get outshot by about 10 tonight. I think it was 35-24 in shots on goal tonight. So it's the 3rd game in a row where the Hurricanes are on the short end of the shot chart, which isn't always the be-all and end-all, except we watched the game, right? And they got out everything by Vegas tonight, much like they did in Colorado. Not as badly in Dallas, but much like they did in Colorado. So shot attempts, Vegas had the advantage. Scoring chances, generic scoring chances, Vegas had the advantage. Not glaring, but an advantage. High danger, Vegas pummeled Carolina in all situations, 17-7. That's a 29% share for the Hurricanes in high danger chances, these numbers provided by Natural Stat Trick. And I didn't go back all the way till the first year of the Rod Brind'Amour era. I just went back 3 full seasons plus the 9 games we have played so far this year, and Carolina is 6-3. So I went back 3 full seasons plus these 9 games, and the Hurricanes have been outshot a total of 40 times in 3+ seasons. 40 times total have been outshot. And only 4 occasions did it happen on consecutive nights or consecutive games. There's never been, in these 3 years, plus the 9 games, they have not been on the short end of the shot chart 3 consecutive games. This, tonight, was a first, or in the case of the shot chart, a third. In last year, 16 times they were outshot. One of those situations was consecutive. The year before, they were outshot 12 times. No times were they outshot on back-to-back games. And then in 22-23 season, when they made it to the conference finals and lost to Florida the first time, also 12 times they were outshot. But there were two different occasions where it happened on consecutive nights. But this is now 3 times in a row. And again, it speaks to issue one, which is the personnel is not close right now to what Carolina needs to impact the game the way they want to. We'll talk about it. Although we're already about halfway through this. The best thing we saw tonight, though, the very best thing we saw, Andrei Svechnikov was an engaged participant. I know it's a joke. I said this before the game. I said it on the radio today. I just want to see Andrei commit a penalty because now I know he's involved. The NHL produces an event summary, which gives you a list of all of the little stats, the shots, the shot attempts, the blocks, the giveaways, the takeaways, the hits, all of that. They produce that every game, and they produce a game summary every game. The game summary lists who scored, who had the assist, who committed a penalty. And for 8 games before tonight, the name Svechnikov never had to be written because Andrei didn't have any points and he didn't have any penalties. The only time you saw Svechnikov listed on the game summary was his number 37 when he was on the ice for 3 goals against. That's it. It's the only time you saw him on the game summary. Tonight, we got that out of the way early. He had a couple of good scoring chances on the first shift. You remember he's playing with Stahl and Martinook on that line. He gets a couple of chances early, and then Carolina gets the first power play, and Sebastian Aho wins the faceoff right back to Svechnikov, and bang, 1-0 Carolina. So that was good. Later in the period, he commits 2 penalties. I thought the first one was very soft. I thought the second one was, I thought he tripped him a little bit. Again, I don't think either was egregious, but stick on the hands, especially when I forget who it was for Vegas. It was either White Cloud or McNabb, I think. When they pretend that they have a broken wrist, yeah, I think they help the call a little bit. But anyway, you're not allowed to have your stick on the hands of the opposing player when he's got the puck. Get it? So letter of the rule, that's penalty. The trip is a penalty. The second one cost Carolina a goal because it was a power play goal by Pavel Defiev. One day I won't have any problem getting that name right. For all the good that Freddie Anderson was in the second period, I thought he could have stopped and maybe should have stopped both goals. I think he definitely should have stopped the first one. The backhand from Dorofeyev after the Svechnikov goal that made it 1-1. And that's the thing, man. If we can get those, can we not have that? Like, I would have less of a problem if in the second period Vegas had scored twice because they deserved it, as opposed to the 2 goals they scored in the first period, which I thought Freddie could have had both. So if it's still 2-2 after 2, but Vegas got their 2 goals in a second period where they deserved goals, I'd be a lot more comfortable with it. First period, I thought Carolina was, way better than they were the rest of the night. But I think they were the better team in the first period. But it was 2-1 Vegas. But after that first, I thought Freddie was much better. And I loved him in the second period. He was desperate, and he gave him a chance. And then in the third period, after Stankoven makes it 3-2, they made the mistake. The first mistake was, I guess, Dom Fensori came down. He had Kolasar along the wall, but the play, Kolasar really wasn't a guy you needed to be on top of like that. Maybe getting back more into a defensive position is the better play. Anyway, he's out of the play now, and Chatfield's the only one back. And Jalen is not vintage Jalen Chatfield at this point. And Brett Houghton goes right around him and goes around Anderson for the goal that made it 3-3. And it was just, 3.5, 4 minutes after Stankoven had made it 3-2. And now you just, I turned to the people who were in the booth with me, and I'm like, man, if we could just drag this into overtime, that would be great. And honestly, Carolina was fortunate that they hadn't given up a goal before then. And then Taylor Hall and Joel Nystrom, just miscommunication and really a terrible decision by Hall to try to give the puck back to Nystrom. It goes the other way. I don't know how many giveaways Taylor Hall was credited with tonight. And just up front, he's been a very good player for Carolina this year. There's no doubt he has been a good player for the Hurricanes. And he has gotten in, taken the spot of Andrei, who started the season playing with Stankoven and Blake. And Hall has been a very good part of that line. But here's what I think we all know about Taylor Hall, and I've said it here before. I think Hall can be a top 6 player for a handful of games in a row. And then ultimately, because of where he is in his career, he is better suited down in the lineup. He can help you more down in the lineup, playing against lesser players, playing a little bit less on the ice rather than play, 15 minutes a game or even a little bit more. He's playing 11 or 12 minutes a game because he's going to get power play time. But when he's playing with Stankoven and Blake, he's playing against better players and he's playing more. The more he plays, the more he can get exposed. And tonight was that game where Taylor Hall got exposed. And his decision-making was bad. I had him for minimum 3 glaring giveaways, including that goal. And my joke was Taylor Hall also wants Andrei Svechnikov to go back up and play with Stankoven and Blake because Hall is making it obvious that he can't do that right now. So that was disappointing to watch for me tonight, especially because a veteran player should know time, score, where does this puck need to get to? It needs to get behind the net, then get off the ice, and let's see if Carolina can't drag a point out of a game where they were second best. The other player that I wanted to bring up is Nick Ehlers, who I thought also really struggled tonight. There were 2 or 3 occasions where he and Sebastian Aho, for whatever reason, I haven't played a ton together, were like not at all on the same page. And it caused a turnover. There was one where Aho's skating and Ehlers skated right into his path. And then in a phone booth with Aho moving at almost the same rate of speed he was, tried to drop pass to Aho, but Aho was probably 8 feet past the puck by the time he realized that Ehlers had dropped it. And Carolina ends up getting nothing out of it. In fact, the play goes the other way for a scoring chance for Vegas. It was just not a very good game, I thought, for Nick. And he's still a guy looking for his first goal. The top line really didn't have a great night. I thought Aho had moments. I thought Jarvis had moments, but we didn't see a ton from them tonight. But I thought the real bigger problem was that Nick Ehlers is clearly pressing and trying to get his goal. They had chances. Aho had a couple of chances that were high or wide. Jarvis, the same thing. Nick Ehlers had a really good look it's hard to tell how high it was, but from the place he shot it for the shot to hit the glass, high on the glass, to me means that he missed the net by a lot. So I didn't love Nick Ehlers tonight. 2 more things before, or maybe 3, before we get out of here. The first is, let's give credit to Alexander Nikishin for playing his best game. Now, I know there is this feeling that Nikishin has been really good, great, a stud, all of that. He hasn't. He's been okay. He hasn't been bad, but he hasn't been great either. And I think ice time usually tells you what Rod Brind'Amour thinks of your game. And ice time told us tonight. 27 and a half minutes. When Alexander Nikishin is playing more minutes than anybody else on the blue line tonight, then you know he played well tonight. When he's playing sixth out of everybody on the blue line, then you know it was not a great game for Alexander Nikishin. So let's not pretend otherwise. With all of that, he gave Carolina so many good moments tonight. They defended the 2-on-1. It was a little awkward, but he defended it. Give him credit. I thought he desperately defended in front of his net when Freddie needed it. Thought Nikishin was at his best in the second period. We need to see the shot more. We saw it a little bit tonight. And a broken stick again on a shot attempt with a lot of broken sticks tonight. But I thought that as a whole, in terms of the responsibility, the impact on the game, to me, this was Alexander Nikishin's best game. And that was great to see because they needed him tonight. Because, as I said earlier, Carolina, too small tonight. And Nikishin isn't. They're going to need size going forward. Flat out. Even with Slavin and Miller eventually coming back, whenever Robinson and Carrier come back. They need size. They need size down the middle. And I'm not talking about Jesperi Kotkaniemi or Mark Jankowski. They need bona fide size down the middle. I'll say it again. I like that number 28 or whatever the hell number he's wearing in Boston. I like that guy. Anyway, that's just me. I have an obsession. So Nikishin was very good. To me, officiating wasn't the problem tonight. I thought Carolina was more of the problem. I didn't think Dom Fensore played all that well. He played just under 20 minutes. But again, the guys needed to play. They were down to 5 when Gostisbehere goes off. Then they were down to 4 when Nystrom goes to the locker room for repairs. He missed a huge chunk of the second period. So they had to play. But I didn't think Fensore was very good tonight. And I love the kid. I love the player. And he was doing really well in the minors. Rod Brind'Amour talked about it. The plan was for him to get second power play time because he's been doing a good job there for Chicago. But this is a game they could have used Mike Riley. I thought Fensore got exposed a fair amount, as did Nystrom. It was not a good night for that pair. And I didn't think Nystrom was good before the injury. And when he came back, he still wasn't good. Which is unfortunate because I think he had largely played pretty well for Carolina. So Rod Brind'Amour in the postgame talked about the penalty disparity. And he said all year long. Well, the first 5 games, Carolina goes 5-0. And Carolina actually went on the power play 17 times. And they were shorthanded 15 times. Those are the first 5 games. Since then, pretty glaring. 20-13 against since. 8-5 in Colorado. 4-1 here tonight. And they've been on the short end of it, I believe, all 4 times in this stretch. Now, one could argue that the Hurricanes don't want any power plays because for the most part, it's been bad. With that said, the Hurricanes did get a power play goal tonight. But I'm not counting it as a power play goal because they didn't have to set up a power play. Sebastian Aho won a faceoff. Andrei Svechnikov took the shot. That's a goal. Is it a power play goal? Yes. Is it going to count on the stats? Yeah. Carolina goes from 2 for 29 to 3 for 30. 2 for 29? Yeah, 2 out of 29 to 3 for 30. They go all the way to 10% on the power play just with one goal. They raised 3.1% just with one goal. Fancy that. But that was the only power play they got. And frankly, the only play tonight that I thought Carolina deserved another power play was they clearly missed, and I forget who it was. Might have been McNabb. I think it was Lazon. He slew-footed Nick Ehlers. That's what got Nick Ehlers mad. And then he and Brett Howden, or Howden, I don't know how to pronounce the name. Then they, roughed up each other, and they go to the penalty box. But that was a missed call. I didn't think Andrei was tripped in the third period. And I thought maybe there were some, a little help from Vegas on a couple of the calls. The first slash on Andrei, yeah. But ultimately, is that really a cross-check with the puck right there? Jordan Staal with the puck right there. Is that really cross-checking? I don't know. Maybe it is. So I didn't think Carolina lost the game to the officials tonight. I really didn't. They weren't dangerous enough in the offensive end. They were the second best team tonight. And again, I trace a lot of it back to personnel. I got one more thing, and then we have to go. We're not that far away from Pyotr Kochetkov. Oh, I'm going to be fast here. We're not far away from Pyotr Kochetkov coming back. We might even see him against the Islanders on Thursday. I just as soon go Brendan Bussey again if you want to give Freddie a game off. And frankly, I would. I think the most important thing is to keep Freddie healthy right now, even though he hasn't been 100% great for me. He allowed 5 goals tonight, but I thought Freddie was really good. I didn't like the first 2, but I didn't have any problem with everything after that. And I think Freddie was really, really good. But you got to keep him healthy. And that means not rolling him out there every game, even if it's an every other day situation. So I just as soon see Bussey play against the Islanders on Thursday and go back to Anderson when they go to Boston on the weekend. But they're going to have to make a decision with goaltending. And the only way to protect yourself, I think, is to say, all right, in Brandon Bussey, we think we might have a goaltender who can be a third goaltender for us. But in order for that to happen, we got to figure out a way to send him to Chicago so he can play there, and Kochetkov can be the goalie here, the second goalie here. And the only way to do that, to protect yourself, you don't lose him, because the way he's playing, he's getting claimed, whether by Florida or somebody else. The only way to protect yourself is to offer him a contract. And I don't know what that contract is, but that's what Carolina might have to do, is give him a contract. So see how they play it, but they have to figure something out. They don't have a third goalie in the organization that they can trust to play. Brandon Bussey can be that guy. Here's what I would do right now, given Carolina's personnel issues. And Stankoven has been good, so I certainly understand if Rod doesn't want to do this. I think I would take Ehlers off of Aho and Jarvis's line. I would move Svechnikov. At the very least, I would put Svechnikov with Stankoven and Blake. But I would consider this, and I'm not saying he deserves it, but I would go right now, I would go Kotkaniemi as a second line center, and I'd play him with Blake and Andrei. Let that line go out. You got the creativity of Blake. You got big bodies. Maybe you can get a little motivation from Kotkaniemi and Svechnikov getting an opportunity. I would think about, again, you don't really have enough size. Maybe Ehlers stays there at this point. I don't know. But I would think about doing something radical by maybe even putting Martinook up there with Aho and Jarvis. I just think right now Carolina's got to change the way their forwards look because they're not generating a lot of chances. And I would also consider putting Stankoven with Stahl and Martinook again. Once again, I say this with Jarvis. Jarvis fits well on that line. We're not taking Jarvis and Aho. We're not separating them. But I could see Stankoven playing with Stahl and Martinook again because he naturally plays the way they play. So I could see that for a short period of time. But right now, Carolina's got to get more going offensively. And right now it's not. So you see that in the scoring chances, 3 out of the last 4 games. Just not generating enough. They've got to do that. Have to do that. But I totally understand if Rod, because Stankoven has been good in the middle. If you want to leave Logan there with Blake and let Andrei play, but it's time to drop Taylor Hall back down because I thought he got exposed tonight. And I don't know if he just had a bad night. Could have had just had a bad night, but he was pretty bad tonight. And that'll do it for the Canes Corner podcast, brought to you by the Aluminum Company of North Carolina. If it is for the exterior of your home, you can find it at the Aluminum Company of North Carolina on Hamlin Road in Durham. No place like it. Sammy Hanna's crew do a great job. We'll be back on Thursday night. We started at 6:30, the game tonight. We start Thursday at 7:30. Do we ever have a 7 o'clock face-off anymore? This is the 9th game. That'll be the 10th game. We've had one 7 o'clock start. What? Thank you very much for hanging out. We'll be a little bit less scattered then. See everybody. Good night.